Hey guys, it's Payne. I'm really excited to introduce a brand new show to Bet the Board that combines sports and alternative investing, the very first of its kind. Sports betting and collectibles converging is inevitable. Let me tell you why. Sports cards and memorabilia are another way to get money into the market and do it without limit restrictions or the substantial hold you're accustomed to with sports betting. Whether you collected cards as a kid and are looking to get back into the hobby, this podcast is for you. If you've been collecting cards for years, this podcast will make you think and operate more efficiently. Are you in real estate? The parallels to investing in sports cards and memorabilia are uncanny. You're on Wall Street. Well, listen close. The best sports cards have outperformed the S&P 500 by 6x since 2013. And during the 2008 market crash, sports cards held up better than the S&P 500. Bet the Board, in conjunction with PWCC, presents CardBoard Chat, an entertaining, sophisticated, and informative podcast that combines sports, analytics, betting, cards, and memorabilia. Without further ado, this is CardBoard Chat with Jesse Craig, a leading figure in the collectible space, and me, Payne. How were the Father's Day festivities yesterday?
They were good, pretty low key. You know, we don't usually do a ton for Father's Day, but Ange had it's June, which is summer league basketball for high school girls, so she had a tournament, and we went and watched a couple games, and I made dinner.
You made dinner on Father's Day.
I did. Well, I wanted a steak, so I'm cooking that thing.
Okay. Yes. I got you.
Yeah. Not that I don't trust my wife cooking a steak. She likes it medium rare too, but still, it was. I'd prefer to just cook my own steak.
What was the over under on bottle consumption? 1.5 is where the line's at.
Ooh, I would have taken the under then.
Okay. Wow. You went under.
Yeah, we went under. I shared a bottle with my wife.
Wow.
It was one bottle consumed.
Okay. Beautiful. I like it.
Some of our favorite. Willamette Valley Pinot from Longlow Estate.
I was going to ask you that because I'm sure we have some wine drinkers here, and not that we're being compensated by any. We probably should be if we're going to do this. But
we should.
What's your favorite red and white right now? And the bottle is under, call it roughly $100.
Under $100. Longlow Estate's 2016 Estate Pinot is very, very good. Drinking very good right now. There's actually a reserve variation of that's amazing as well, but I think that one creeps closer to $100. I think the estate is like 70. Brickyard is another one. They have an amazing Pinot, but there's a handful. Beaufrere. There's some unbelievable Pinots for under $100 in Willamette Valley. You want to go just over 100. White Rose has some amazing ones. Longlow has a higher end called El Terzo. It's about 110 a bottle. That's delicious. So there's some really good Pinots. I'm not a big white wine guy. I'm more red, so I don't want to comment too much. But if I'm gonna drink a Chardonnay, it's gonna be Longlow's. They have a very crisp Chardonnay. It's not buttery, which I hate. It's a very good, crisp Chardonnay.
I can't contribute to this conversation, but I thought it would be good for our listeners.
Well, conversation over then.
Yes. and we're it's a little dry this week, right? Figured sports are a touch slow. NBA finals, NHA finals are both wrapped up. The draft, though, Thursday. So that's probably a pretty good starting point here. Victor Wembanyama is all the hype right now.
All the hype.
Oh,
all the hype.
God.
Oh my God, that guy.
Are you seeing what the Bowman University redemptions are selling for right now?
No, what is it?
There is a green parallel to 99 that is over $10K, and it ends tonight, Monday.
Oh my! Now, I don't know the answer to this. You might not either, but I should. I should, being under the Fanatics umbrella. But I saw the picture of Ruben and Mahan signing with Wembanyama overseas, and he wrote, "This is my first, Bowman, my first card signed, or first card ever signed, whatever the hell the inscription was." I'm assuming that is just card 1 of 99 because it was the green variation, and then 2 through 99 will not have that same inscription. Or do you know the answer to that?
I don't, but I would assume your assumption's correct.
Right. So, and I'm wondering, is it going for a higher number because everyone is
hoping for the golden ticket?
It's like a 1 in 99 raffle,
Yes,
right? Like they're hoping for that one card.
Yeah,
interesting.
That could be the case. That could be the case. Okay, we know he's the horse, but
he is the horse.
Aside from Wemby, is there a player or two that you like that might have an impact on the basketball card market?
It's hard to say until the draft is done. I mean, that's the reality, right?
Right, like seeing where they fit and where they go.
The fit, yeah. The fit of a player is what's interesting. And then, off mic before we started this, you and I were mentioning how the Pelicans are talking about trying to move Zion before Thursday. I think Bill Simmons was the one who spilled the beans on that. If that's true, that opens up a world of possibilities in the 2 or 3 slot. There's a chance that Portland tries to move Lillard before Thursday. There's a chance that Charlotte tries to get Zion and trades the pick. I think Portland would have interest in Zion if that would, if for some reason Dame wanted him and that would help him stay. I mean, there's kind of a slew of opportunities here. When I'm looking at guys that have a lot of upside, I look at the Thompson brothers. Pretty cool that 2 twins are going to go top 10 in the draft, likely. You have Amen Thompson, who I've read has has the biggest ceiling outside of Wemby in this draft. He's a very athletic defender, great court vision, 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan. There's comparables to like an Andre Iguodala, but even more athletic. Not a great shooter though. That's something that he'll have to definitely work on. He did improve his free throws from like 50s to high 60s. So shooting is going to be his bugaboo and something that he's going to have to work on. But then his brother, and I might mispronounce his first name, Asar. He's 6'7", like slightly less athletic than Amen, but he's a better shooter. So you got both these guys. It's possible that Amen goes number 3 to Portland. Scoot Henderson, who looks like an unbelievable athlete, has kind of moved up from 3 to the 2 slot, where it's looking like he's going to go to Charlotte. But it's like I said, outside of Wemby, before they get drafted, it's really hard to tell. And these trades that happen could really shake up the draft here in the next few days. So it's going to be an exciting week.
Oh, it's going to be fun to watch, especially the next couple of days. To your point, right, Scoot Henderson right now, as we record, the favorite to be pick number 2 over Brandon Miller, about a $2.50 favorite. And those rumblings are the Pelicans seem to be in love with Scoot Henderson. And the word on the street is the Hornets much prefer Brandon Ingram over Zion Williamson in that potential trade if they were to move the 2nd overall pick. So we'll see if that's a sticking point or if, Charlotte's saying, hey, we'll take Zion. But I know they are hoping for they prefer Brandon Ingram. So we'll see what unfolds there.
Got it.
In terms of this draft, right, there's teams that have multiple picks. There's spots and potential trades, and we'll kind of see how some of these teams maneuver within. Are they going to move up to get a young player? Are they going to move multiple picks to get an established player? What teams have the greatest chance to make an impact in this draft in your estimation?
Well, I think it comes down to the trades. I mean, that's really the biggest thing is if these guys can pull off a trades for the number 2 or number 3 pick in this draft, I mean, they should get a really nice package along with it. And if I'm a Charlotte or a Portland, I mean, you take the guarantee and you trade out, right? Like that's the way I look at it. If you can find a player that fits within your organization now and don't risk a young prospect, right? Like, yeah, Scoot looks amazing, but and crazy athletic. You've seen some of those dunks he's done. Miller out of Alabama looks really, really solid and maybe the most like pro-ready guy out of the group. It's just tough. It's tough to say what team's going to have the most impact. I mean, Wemby is, quite possibly could be. I mean, he's the biggest prospect since LeBron.
Yep.
Right? Like 7'4", an 8-foot wingspan, which is absolutely insane. He's only 19. I don't know if you saw the video of that 3-point shot putback he had.
I did.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's maybe the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen on a basketball court. I don't even know, like, there's one camera angle where it cuts away from him and it just all of a sudden shows him popping up and dunking it. But I don't know how he got from a fadeaway 3 to a putback dunk in a matter of like 0.7 seconds. It makes no like philosophical. I mean, it makes no sense. I just don't understand how that's even possible. But like, those are the kind of things that we're going to see from this guy. So, the Spurs, look, this might get Pop to stick around for years, having a talent like that.
Yeah, I aside from Wemby, because I think it's clear that he'll have the largest impact as a player, and then ultimately that transitions to the Spurs as a team. You also have some other interesting things here, right? Magic have picks 6 and 11 in this draft that you can pair with Paolo. The Pacers have 3 first-round picks and 4 of the first 32. Does Indiana package a few to move up in this draft and target their favorite guy, or do they package some of those picks to find a more ready-made player to pair with Haliburton? And that's kind of the rumor, that Indiana is being extremely aggressive right now, trying to leverage the 7th pick to get a ready-made wing to pair with Tyrese Haliburton. The Jazz have 3 of the first 28 picks. So looking at their roster currently probably makes sense to select a player with all 3 of those picks. And then there's rumblings that the Suns are going to move DeAndre Ayton, clear some cap space, and add, multiple cheaper players to surround their big 3 of KD, Booker, and Beal. And maybe that's a good question for you, is what'd you make of that deal? Because that seemed to come out of left field, but all of a sudden when you start seeing, new GM, ownership, agents.
Son, like the relationships there, it makes a lot of sense. But I mean, they only have 5 guys on their roster, and they're way over salary cap. So they got to do something. And with how much we've shown depth to matter in the NBA, the big 3 stuff hasn't been working as of late. That ever since the Warriors had KD, everyone's tried to replicate the big 3. And I mean, you name another instance outside of that where it's worked.
Yeah,
it's
tough. I think Kyrie's been involved in a couple of them, so that might be
so he's the big 3 cancer.
Yeah, that, and then KD obviously got injured. But what makes this one interesting to me, and they absolutely have to clear some space. Got to figure out how you can surround those 3 with quality depth pieces, and maybe that's the hope is that guys are going to take a little bit less money to play with that big 3. But
sure.
The one thing that's interesting to me about this is those 3 guys are all triple threats. They can dribble, drive, they can pass, they can shoot. Those other big 3 teams that won championships, right? The Heat and the Warriors, you actually couldn't even say the same about those teams, right? Now, like, I'm not implying
they had specialties.
Yeah, I'm not like, KD at this age, Booker, Beal, like, I'm not implying that trio is better than LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, but LeBron and Wade weren't always reliable with the shot. Steph, Clay, and Draymond. Clay wasn't a great dribble drive creator, and shit, like Draymond at times, you could lock him in an empty gym and he'd have trouble scoring. So, like, you get those 3 guys of like KD, Booker, and Beal. They can all dribble drive, they can all shoot, they can pass. So, that's going to be interesting to see how Phoenix really completes that roster in the next couple of months before the start of the season. So, I thought that was interesting to pick your brain on.
All they need to focus on is defense, right? To fill in the roster, really. Like, you have so much scoring in those 3 guys, and like the offensive sets you can create with 3 shooters like that. Like 3 of the best shooters in the league, to be honest. Right? Like they're unbelievable scorers, dribblers, and shot creators. So like the sets they're going to have are going to be fun. But I fill in. Booker's going to play the 1. You have Beal play the 2. I fill in a defensive 3 and then a good defensive center. And then that's an amazing starting 5, in my opinion. But then you got to have bench strength too, right? You got to have energy guys coming off the bench. You got to have defense coming off the bench. The scoring with those 3 is not going to be a problem.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. It's time, folks. That's right. We're going to discuss undervalued and overvalued cards, or maybe even some memorabilia assets, potentially some players. Is it time to buy, sell, or hold on to these assets or players? We'll give you some opinions and back it up.
A set that's really fun makes your undervalued selection this week. Talk to us a little bit about the card of your choice and why you deem it to be undervalued.
So this week it is a T206 green portrait Ty Cobb. And we've talked about the T206 set a bit on this pod, but just to give a reference point, I mean, these cards were manufactured in between 1909 and 1911. So these cards are over 110 years old. And they're literally called tobacco cards because they came out of a pack of cigarettes, right? Like this, you buy a pack of cigs and there was a card inside the pack. And smokes were really popular in the early 1900s. So there's quite a few of these that were printed, but there's a bunch of different variations and then different backs as well. So the Cobb has 4 different variations. There's the green portrait, which we're talking about today and is the most rare. There's red portrait, which is the least rare. And then there's bat on shoulder and bat off shoulder. And the bat off and on shoulder are a little less rare than the green portrait, but still there's not a ton of those that have been graded by PSA in the grand scheme of things. And then along with these cards, there's different backs. So you can have a Piedmont back, a Sweet Cat back. Those are the most common. Then the next most common are the likes of Old Mill, Sovereign, Polar Bear. And then there's some really rare backs where there's a handful of examples like ever graded. Carolina Brights, Drum, EPDG, Lennox, Hindu, Broadleaf. Those are all different variations. So it's a set that requires a lot of knowledge to navigate and understanding of what they came from, the variations. So when you buy things, you're pricing them correctly. But to give a reference point, I'm going to talk about just the green portrait Cobb today. I'm going to compare it to the 52 Tops Mantle, which we've talked about quite a bit as a reference point for why I think this thing is really undervalued. If you look at Ty Cobb as a baseball player, Ty Cobb is arguably a top 3 all-time baseball great. Most conversations, he's easily top 5, sometimes top 3, sometimes 2. Mantle's considered top 10. He fluctuates between like 5 and 12, but typically top 10 from a baseball great perspective. So Cobb is traditionally ranked higher than Mantle and all-time greats. We've talked about how 52 Tops Mantle is a short print because the supply went into the ocean, right? These high number 52 tops, a lot of them just got destroyed, and so there aren't as many that have been graded by PSA as, let's say, a 52 Mays. Well, to give an example of the deficiency from grading, there's been 1,905 1952 Tops Mantles graded by PSA. There have only been 1,028 green portrait Cobbs graded. That's just over half as many examples. And if you want to look at, from a grading perspective, a grade that has some more supply, so from a comp perspective, it's a good comparison. We'll look at PSA 4s for both, 52 Mantle and a T206 green portrait Cobb. You can get a 52 Mantle and a 4 right now for around $100K, depending on the quality of the card. A green portrait Cobb, you can pick that up for about a fourth of the price for $25,000. The delta and discrepancy, in my opinion, makes no sense.
I appreciate the Boston Red Sox fans figuring out a way to take a shot at Mantle there, but
let's go.
I'm not going to talk too glowingly about this specific card since I own one and I don't want to get.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I don't want to.
I really didn't know that.
I don't want to get crushed by the haters.
You own a green Cobb, huh?
I do.
Attaboy.
Attaboy. He gives me the attaboy. Right, a day after Father's Day. I appreciate that. If you're a vintage collector, right, it's a must-have card. If you're looking, to put a run together, I think of the most important cards of every era of baseball. Like, this Cobb is at the forefront. And what's so interesting to me is like you hear all the like modern collectors in the younger crowd telling you like baseball's a dying sport, right? That like eventually Mantle and Mays and Aaron and Clemente and like all of these, the cards from the 50s and 60s will eventually be irrelevant once old people die. It's like this T206 Cobb is like the example of how uneducated I think that stance is, because like neither me or you, right, or anyone that owns this card collected Ty Cobb or T206 cards as a kid, and like here we are. This is one of the most important sets in baseball history and in sports cards overall.
Totally agree. Yeah, it's an incredible piece. I just think with his greatness from a baseball perspective combined with the lack of supply and comparing it to some other greats of the game and what their cards are selling for. I mean, look, I get it. The brand of Mantle, Yankees, first Topps production, I get all that. But even if you compare this card to a PSA 451 Bowman Mantle, it's selling for less.
I'm sticking with baseball, and I'm going down the same path. I think sometimes you find a sector of a market that doesn't make a ton of sense, and we identified one last week, and similar bucket here, right? And we're going to short Corbin Carroll's 2019 first Bowman auto. And you look at Carroll, like, very good player, soon to be 23-year-old outfielder for the Diamondbacks. If you look at his index, like up about 42% over the last month, having a great season. And you look at the D-backs, right? Surprising some people in first place in the NL West. And I would guess, right, it's a very tough division, but like they've faced a very tough schedule, top 5 schedule to date. So they've earned that first place in the NL West. But you look at the D-backs again, it's a below average market size. At this stage, you look at, the parallel to the sports betting market, and odds makers don't believe Arizona's a top 10 team in this league the way they're priced to win the World Series. And then you look at some of the milestones. 19 home runs so far. He's only about 20 months younger than a Juan Soto, who I'll use as the comparison again, who has over 135. So, you look at Soto as the barometer because, right, they're both outfielders. They both bat left. You could have purchased a first Bowman Blue Rookie Auto Soto for $2,300 in May. It was raw. But an SGC 10 of Corbin Carroll just sold for almost $2,000 a few days ago. To me, that gap is simply not large enough. And then you think about like football season approaching here. It just doesn't seem like Corbin Carroll's market continues to ascend over the next couple of months. So I thought that was good to mix in another overvalued selection this week.
Yeah, you found a good little niche in these baseball prospects. And I agree with these across the board because he hasn't done anything. I mean, that's really the gist of it. To pay a couple grand for a card of a guy that hasn't done anything, he's 100 games into his career. Granted, playing really well, but I like a larger sample size, personally. It's just so early to be spending that kind of money on something or on somebody. In all reality, he gets hurt or starts struggling, and that $2,000 card could be $800 in a matter of weeks. The hype is gone, the train is gone, and so there's a ton of risk associated with it. Look, there is upside too. If he ends up being a top 5 guy in the league, which I honestly didn't know this name very well at all when you put it on the on the overvalued, so I had to do a little bit of research. But the fact that, and I knew he was going to be a baseball prospect because I didn't really know who he was. I'm admittedly not great with the baseball prospects. And, a guy that's played less than 100 games in the league. Yeah, it makes sense that I wouldn't know who he is. So this is just a high-risk, medium-sized reward, in my opinion, and just one that I agree is probably overvalued.
I think that's actually the most concise thing you could say there, right? Like, the upside is there, but it's just like, to put this in perspective, like last night there was the first Tom Brady Topps Chrome Gold rookie, right? It's a gold X Fractor, it's serial numbered to 101. It's from 2003. It was a PSA 8. Sold for $4,000. Like, do you want Corbin Carroll's, first Bowman Blue for $2,000, or would you rather spend another $2,000 and get that Brady card? Like, it feels like an absolute no-brainer.
Totally agree.
Pick a number, any number, whatever it may be. We got a number inside, but we want a magic number. All right, this is where we're going to pick a few big cards that enter in an auction over the next couple of days, and we're going to try and guess how much they sell for in advance. Throw out a number. We got one too.
Hopefully we don't totally agree with magic number. We got 3 cards this week, and they are actually really good. It feels like when I saw this list, as he's trying to make me happy, he's got a little Tom Brady in here, a little Mantle, some 90s inserts. You were pulling out all the stops for me this week. I really liked your choices. The first one, we'll go with Tom Brady. It's the 2022 Panini Prism Flashback Gold, serial numbered out of 10. talk to us a little bit about this card, maybe dive into why it's important, and maybe even discuss the Gold Brady stuff starting to wind down over the last 12 to 18 months. We've seen that sector of the market really dip, and then give us your best guess.
Yeah, Prism started doing these flashbacks, paying homage to the designs of past products of theirs, and I really like them. This card itself, the 2022 flashback Gold Brady out of 10. It's in a PSA 10. It's a Pop 2. Just a very aesthetically pleasing card. He is in a Tampa uniform, so he's not in a Patriots uniform. But this was what's interesting about this is out of the 10 copies that exist, 5 of them have hit the market in the last 3 months. So it's a really interesting card from a pricing perspective. A PSA 9 sold fairly recently for about $5,200, and this being the 6th copy in such time, which is a lot for a variation out of 10. I think ultimately it affects the PSA 10 pricing here when one got snatched up at fixed price, months ago into the 5 figures. So I've got this one sitting at $7,880.
Wowzers. What the hell is going on? I thought you were going to go much higher. I'm sure the gentleman that sold this on eBay for $14K is feeling pretty good right now. And, you hit it perfectly, is that sale forced 4 more of the 10 copies to surface, right?
Yep.
And we both saw that comp, the PSA 9 sold for, I believe, like $5,300 after shipping. And, the flashback stuff is nice, but it doesn't have a ton of significance. And that's just my vibe here, is that aside from the 14K comp, that's partly the reason why people are parting with these cards, is because of that significance. It is the final playing season Prism Gold of Tom Brady, I guess you could say, for the time being. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, if you're grasping at straws, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But, where the real problem lies, aside from many copies selling in recent times, is Panini made 38 different gold Prism products of Tom Brady in 2022. So you have
I love gold.
Yeah, you have your pick of the litter here. I'm going to be a man of honor here and just give you my floor price, because my floor was $8,200. So I think I'm probably going to be wrong here. And you going lower was absolutely shocking. $8,200 is going to be my number no matter what. I figured you saw the 14K comp and we're like, oh, it's going to come in at 10.5.
Oh yeah, he's going to come in at 10.
I thought you were at 10.5 all day.
Little conservative on this one, just because of the pure supply that's hit the market lately.
Yes, I think that's the scary point. So I'm at 82, you're at 78.80, and then this next one. Ooh,
love this card.
Okay, we're on the same page here, and sometimes these regional productions don't get the same love as the national ones like Bowman and Topps. But we're going to be talking about a 1954 Red Heart Mickey Mantle PSA 8, great color, dead centered, and I'm sure you've done some research obviously for this segment, but I'm not sure how familiar you were prior. This mantle has actually surged recently, and if you're you're a listener, you've heard Jesse and I mention how the peak of the card market was March, April-ish of 2021. This mantle is selling for more than those peak prices. Really fun set, 33 cards in total, all unnumbered. Each series was released in 11 card batches. So there's 11 red, 11 green, and 11 blue. Those are the background colors. Mantles is blue. A lot of great stories with this set where specific players are short prints, like Stan Musial, who didn't have a card that year in Bowman or Topps. Some cards were only offered in certain areas of the country since it was a regional production. These were all issued via mail-in offer. And there are people that claim that you could still obtain a complete set from the Red Heart Dog Food Company up until the early 1970s. But we're looking at a mantle now that's pushing towards being like 70 years old. Less than 1,600 copies ever submitted to PSA for grading at this point. I didn't mention this at the top, but this PSA 8 mantle is as nice as you'll find, right? I mentioned the color and the centering. Borders don't have any browning that's sometimes synonymous with this set. It comes with PWCC's enhanced eye appeal designation of excellent, meaning it's in the top 15% of all PSA 8s. I'm going to come in here, I think, a touch high at 7,500.
I guess we're having an over-under battle. I'll tell you right now before I get into it that my number is literally 7,600.
Okay, beautiful.
So we're right in the same ballpark. But you mentioned all the key points for this. This is what's so cool about some of these 50s sets. You talk about Burke Ross, right? Like the Burke Ross Mantles, or you think about the Wilson Frank set, right? The Red Heart Dog Food. Like there's just so many cool, unique sets with unique stories like this from the 50s that I just love. And this one being a regional set, that there are those 3 different background colors, and they're very vibrant looking cards when you can find them in good condition. It's just such a fun, cool, unique set. So you hit on all the points. I don't really need to hammer those further, but I'm coming in $100 above you. That's 7,600.
It's a vintage card. It happens. You mentioned another great set in the Wilson Franks. You're a Boston guy. Do you have the Ted Williams from
Love
that
it.
set?
I don't, but that's a card that's on
the
the acquisition list.
Okay.
It is. It's so for just quick piece of that is a card that literally came in a pack of hot dogs, hence the name Wilson Franks. And the cards are known for having stains on them from the juices from the hot dogs. Little dog juice on there. So it's extremely hard to find those in high grade because they're known to have staining all over them. So that's an incredible set that I need to get a Teddy ball game on my list to acquire for sure.
Another lefty. 1998 Skybox Essential Credentials Future. Barry Bonds, serial numbered out of 99 in PSA near mint 8 is the third card that we're going to talk about in magic number. Give us your best guess here. Talk to us a little bit about this card and a recent comp. We talk all the time. When a comp resets the market, other copies follow.
Yep. Yeah, that definitely happens. I knew this one has a place in your heart, 90s baseball insert. Just a beautiful card, really. It's got this, pink and red different coloring on it. Great action pose from Barry Bonds. This one's serial number 13 out of 99, so only 99 exist. And you only see a handful of these copies sell every year. It's usually between 3 and 6 that sell, which, we talk about the supply of an asset typically turning over about 10% annually. Well, these are less because these are true collector cards. So usually if guys can find these and acquire them, they hang on to them and they don't let them go, or they even get multiple copies of it because it's such a pretty attractive and important card. There was a PSA 10 sale recently for about $16,200, which sold in our premier auction. Great card. Absolutely, a pretty decent number for that. But I think if it was to resell today, it might do even more. But this being a PSA 8, I don't see a lot of flaws on the card either. I kind of looked at this one pretty close, and I mean maybe one of the back corners has a little flaw, but these are known for surface issues, and I'm having trouble finding them from the image. I mean, this looks like a 9 to me. I mean, the front left corner has a little bit of wear on it, but great card. I've a BGS 8.5 went for $7,500 in December. So I've got this one very similar to, kind of similar pricing, just under it though with, the timing at $6,850.
Trading cards and memorabilia have seen incredible growth as an alternative investment. The company leading the growth? PWCC Marketplace. PWCC Marketplace runs the largest weekly auction of authenticated sports cards, Pokemon cards, comic books, video games, and memorabilia in the world. PWCC Marketplace also has more than 65,000 items listed in their fixed price marketplace that you can make an offer on right now. Head over to pwccmarketplace.com and see why they're the best option for buying and selling trading cards, memorabilia, and all of your collectibles.
Okay. You mentioned that comp, the PSA 10 in late May for 16.2. Just, kudos to you guys. You guys did a great job there, right? That was a record. It was a record by 3x since the last public sale of that PSA 10 in June 2021. And there was a recent Pop 3 Ken Griffey that sold for about 33.5-ish in that range. It went extremely light because there have been a lot of Griffies that have popped up recently. There's a gentleman who had a massive Griffey collection that came on some tough times, and he just was dumping a ton of inserts and great cards, and that was kind of the last batch to go. So a Jeter BGS 9 sold last night very strongly for about $6,300. In comes this PSA 8 of Bonds. Bonds is starting to get a lot of respect just because we know how good he was. He's one of the guys that feels like they haven't fully escaped, right? The steroid scandal. Like, there are guys that simply won't collect him. But a lot of like the 90s inserts guys who are sentimental are starting to collect Bonds, and we're seeing his prices tick up. You mentioned that BGS 8.5 comp, and to me, it was the inverse, right? That was a gift grade that sold for $7,500 December. Like, the pink foil along the left was absolute dog water compared to this PSA 8 copy. I'm going to come in higher than you on this one. I'm going to be at $7,500 on the Barry Bonds.
Here we go, baby. I'm under you.
Yes,
I love it.
Yes. Maybe it falls in between at $7,200. We'll see how this ultimately shakes out.
Damn, that's a ghost. We're going to highlight a card that hasn't sold in more than a year right now, or is serial numbered to less than 100 copies produced. We're going to talk about why this card is significant, maybe in terms of hobbies or language or just the overall rarity of it all, and why it's considered a ghost.
The man that we're going to talk about here is becoming quite polarizing. So it'll be interesting to see if it impacts the sale of this card. He was taking to the internet again this weekend and yapping. 2003 Exquisite Collection. LeBron James rookie patch auto. It's out of 100 copies. It is a PSA 10 gem mint. It's a set that we've talked about no less than 10 times on this show. But in discussing it, right, we've talked about how condition sensitive these 03 Exquisite cards are. Again, this particular LeBron RPA comes with both perfect card condition and a perfectly struck bold auto for a PSA 1010, right? Just 3 total have achieved that. Talk to us about, this card's importance, why it's going for the number that it is based upon the condition, and then I'll let you close it out before we go to the next segment.
Yeah, just a really pretty card in my opinion. This is the highest numbered insert from LeBron's major inserts from the 03 set. But if you're going to collect all of his inserts, which some guys try to do, and it's hard because the emblems is only numbered to 15. You got numbered pieces to 23. You have the swatches to 23. What am I missing? Limited logos to 75. This card, there's one more. Noble. Did I say Noble?
Noble nameplate. You got
Noble
the,
nameplate to 20 to 25.
Numbers pieces. Yep.
Numbered piece. Yep. So there's 6 main inserts from this set, and this is the highest numbered one. But it's a cool card. It's got the E cutout for where the jersey goes for the Exquisite brand. The autos on this card, it's got a beautiful white space on the right-hand side to do the auto, but a lot of these are faded. That's a huge issue with this set is for some reason a lot of these autographs get some fading in them. So this is a Pop 3 dual PSA 10. One of these hasn't sold for about a year and a half, and it's kind of like outside of his RPA because of the quantity. I guess you could call it his another potential blue chip from the Exquisite set. So just a great card, tough to find in really good condition, and especially with the auto to match.
So we doing this or are we doing that? You tell me and we'll tell you. We're going to compare 2 cards right now with similar value that are completely different. Let me give you an example. Let's just say for argument's sake, you have a vintage Mickey Mantle baseball card worth $30,000. But you also have a modern day Joe Burrow rookie card worth $30,000. Which one would you rather have and why? You tell us, we're going to tell you right now.
Extremely difficult to choose this week. You did extremely well for this or that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a good one. I was looking at these and I honestly, even after doing all the research, I was kind of back and forth on it.
I'm right there with you, and so I'm going to introduce the two cards. The first is a 2016 Panini Prism UEFA Gold Cristiano Ronaldo. It's serial numbered out of 10. It comes in near mint condition. And we're going to be comparing it to a 2001 playoff contenders ticket, Drew Brees rookie auto in Gem Mint BGS 9.5 condition. I will let you lead. My gut says we end up different.
Okay, we'll see. Card 1, 2016 UEFA Gold Prism Cristiano Ronaldo out of 10 in a PSA 8. This card sold for $7,500. We've talked till we're blue in the face about how important gold cards are in our space. Cards numbered out of 10. They carry a panache and a weight to them. Ronaldo is a top 5 all-time talent. Some argue top 3 behind Pele and Messi. Just an incredible player who, honestly, because he's playing at the same time as Messi, kind of was overshadowed at times from Messi, right? Like, you have two all-time greats.
You're a Messi guy.
I'm a Messi guy.
Yeah,
I am a Messi
because
guy.
the way you're positioning this, like 8 months ago, Cristiano Ronaldo is being talked about as the best.
I'm a Messi guy. Yeah, sorry. I love Messi, especially because the bodies, right? Like, you look at Ronaldo and he has the body to be like an all-time great. You wouldn't suspect that from little Lionel Messi. Like, he doesn't look like your stereotypical all-time great, which I love, and that's what makes it even more special, in my opinion. But 2014 was the first year for gold prisms for soccer, so this is I believe the second year they did them. I don't think there's a 2015 for my research. Like I mentioned, one of the greatest of all times. It's a gold. You can't go wrong with that, and it's a very aesthetically pleasing card, in my opinion. Like, I love the gold border on this card, and because of all the Prism releases that we've had since then, it almost feels like, this is going to sound silly, but in the realm of modern, it almost feels like a little bit of a vintage feel from a modern perspective, right? Like, just the design of it. It's like a vintage Prism, and it's not a super popular Prism design for basketball either, so you haven't seen a ton of these. This is the same design from, I believe, Joker's rookie for basketball. Like, kind of the same looking border feel. 2001 playoff contenders, Drew Brees, ticket auto in a Beckett 9.5. Very condition sensitive card. This one sold also for $7,500 exactly a week ago. So exact same price. Now, when you look at Brees, you're not going to say he's a top 5 all-time NFL talent. That is not even close. He's arguably a top 5 all-time NFL QB, right? And definitely top 10 in my opinion. But this is his blue chip rookie card. So it's a critically important card. If you're a Drew Brees collector or fan, this is the card that you want to go after. So when we're comparing these two from a card perspective, the argument is one of the greatest of all time for soccer and a gold prism versus one of the best QBs of all time, top 10, maybe top 5, and their blue chip rookie card. When I think longevity for card market and where I think values are going to be for certain athletes, I think because of the international awareness for soccer and the all-time greatness of Ronaldo, I've got to go with the Ronaldo.
I mean, we started episode 26 talking about soccer with, Messi's move to the MLS and what it means for, the continued growth of domestic soccer and how that momentum is only going to continue with the 2026 World Cup on U.S. soil. It's a global game, which the NFL isn't yet, despite a couple games annually outside of the U.S. and Germany and Mexico and London. Mm-hmm. Specific to the cards, the 2016, and I don't know how it's viewed in the soccer community, but Prism UEFA, it is the first year of that production. Prism did have Correct. 2014. It was the World Cup edition.
The World Cup,
yeah. Which is more popular. But, 2016 was the first for UEFA. The Ronaldo serial numbered out of 10. It's shiny. It's gold, right? It's all of the things you look for. But why this is truly difficult, especially for me, is Drew Brees as a quarterback is undervalued in my mind. And I've talked about the Contenders brand, what I believe is the quarterback card, and that's undervalued simply because of, everything that's going on with National Treasures and Flawless and, the modern cards. And it's not serial numbered, the Breeze, but it has a print run of just 500 or less copies. So it is a short print, especially relative to Brady's base. Personally, I prefer the Breeze as a collector, but my gut aligns with you as an investor in that it'll be the 2016 Prism Gold Renato that outpaces the Breeze Contenders rookie long-term.
Love it. Yep, we're on the same page.
I'm surprised. Thought you were going to throw a curveball there and go with the Breeze the way you started that.
Nope.
Okay. We are done here. This was episode 27 of CardBoard Chat. Anything that you would like to get off your chest or talk about that's going on at PWCC, the floor is yours, sir.
Get off my chest. That's,
hey,
that's
this
a lot.
This is a safe space.
That's a lot.
We started the podcast with Father's Day and cooking steaks and drinking, and it's a safe space by now.
Nothing to get off my chest. No, all is good. What's really crazy, we kind of say it each week, it feels like, but the Nationals 6 weeks away is absolutely wild. One of my favorite and most stressful times a year. There is so much that goes in behind the scenes for the show that people don't realize. I mean, we have a 50 by 50 booth this year, plus a 20 by 30. With the Fanatics acquisition of us, there's a lot of commingling that's going on and figuring out how we incorporate with them at the show. So there's just a lot of moving pieces, but that is like the best week of the year. You get to see a ton of people you don't get to normally see, and try to do some big partnerships and some big deals. So definitely looking forward to the National.
And you will be there, set up. Everything else that's going on at PWCC, from weekly auctions to premier auctions, visit pwccmarketplace.com. There's always a direct link in the show notes.
Make sure you follow Payne on Twitter at Payne Insider. Subscribe to Bet the Board and get notified when new episodes of CardBoard Chat air on Tuesdays. And be sure to stop by pwccmarketplace.com for all your collecting needs.